So, Shaul Krakover from Ben-Gurion University of the Negev in Beersheba, and also currently president of a smaller college of education, Chemdat HaDarom, next to Netivot, which is not far from Beersheba. And I'm in the last 10 years engaged in doing research on Jewish heritage tourism. That I will share with you some of my research here. My topic is promoting Jewish heritage tourism, the Juderias of Spain and other countries in perspective. I made a very quite intensive research in Spain. I spent several months in traveling and collecting data, interviews, and so on the Jewish heritage sites in Spain. And then I also made some other research in other countries, so I'm in a good position now to compare. And I will not talk about the promotion in a whole spectrum of promotion, meaning marketing and so on and so forth, branding and so on, but I will just select one aspect of promoting tourism. And let's see if I can now go to the next slide. And I would just concentrate on the network issue, networking in tourism. Well, each one of us may think that networking is a very easy thing. We are in networking, colleagues, political arena, family, and so on and so forth. But it turned out that network is not an easy issue, not in the Jewish heritage tourism. And I would like to stress its importance. So why it's important? It's important for generation of the product first. Second, promotion and marketing. Then reshaping, adjusting, and developing. And finally, obtaining the power of a group. Jewish heritage tourism in many places is characterized by being in small, remote locations. And it's not a very, very big attraction. So therefore, it needs the power of a group in order to promote the sites and the places. Otherwise, very few tourists will come and it will not be economically feasible. Therefore, I think the power of the group is very, very important. Let's see how it's done. In my presentation here, I will present my own research experience, so you will believe that I know something about the issue. Then I will go to the Red Juderias organizational structure. I was afraid that Mrs. Sampson-Hosta will be here and she can present it much better than me, but from my experience, I present it. And then try to compare it with other countries. So my experience, I visited a lot of places, a lot of Jewish heritage sites. I wrote 30 countries, but maybe more. And as a matter of fact, professionally, I did a lot of studies about urban and regional planning and development. In the last 10 years, I went into the question of how can be a site, a place developed by tourism, by Jewish heritage tourism. So that was my interest before, but lately it became my research interest. And I made survey and research of all these places, about 10 countries. And well, I didn't cover Italy at large, but in Sicily I've covered more. And then all these marked with an asterisk are places I have written about in professional journals already. I'm sorry, I went back. Let me see. Okay. These are my papers. The last one is just has been submitted, not published yet. So if you would like to know, I can give you the list later. Let's go now to the first case study of Spain. And you can see the home page here, one of the home pages. It changes all the time. It's an old home page. It presents Jewish issues all the time. In the bottom of the slide, you can see a paper, one of the earliest papers published about the network of Spanish Jewries by Paulo Russo and Romagosa. And well, I think that they did a great job. Mrs. Hosta did a great job in promoting Jewish heritage tourism. And there's a lot of things which can be learned from her experience. But first of all, let's go to a bit of theory. This is a slide copied from a paper published by Miriam Jansen-Verbeke. And it talks about networks. Okay? Networks is marked in the left side, and network from this slide tries to decompose what is a network. What is a network for, which is designed for cultural resources. Okay, so in this slide emphasizes that it starts from physical objects. This is the hardware. Okay, this is the product for us, for heritage tourism. It means this is the product we are trying to develop and then to market, to attract, to be attractive for tourists. Then there is the functional aspect, and the model calls it the software, which means this is the story behind the place. You have to have a story behind the place. You cannot market such simply market a building, a structure, but you have to have some stories about it. And the better the stories are, the marketing will be easier. So this is the software related to the object. But then you need to have an organizational structure which really puts together all these things, the hardware and software, and try to build a organization which treats the issues. We have heard about the organization here in Italy, which tries to organize all the Jewish heritage sites, and this is the organization. So this is the orgware, and this is the place where the organization structure starts. Now it can be done on the local level. You can see the box in the right side. On the local level, it means in the city. Let's say Venice is a city which has a lot of resources, Jewish heritage resources, and it can be organized in Bet Venezia or whatever, and it can then be sold and promoted. However, it can be done on a regional basis. Usually, regional basis means a country or a region in the country, and so this means that now you start to have a shareware. It's not just an organization, orgware, a local organization, but rather it's shared by other places, and then in that case you are going to have a network which operates to sell more than one place, and to have the power of the group in order to attract more tourists, to make it more sustainable than just being there and having deficits all the time. Let's go back to the Spanish case. And I spent 4 months traveling in Spain, visiting. At that time, they had 21 municipalities partnering the Juderias, and I visited 20 of them and visit the sites with some of the local guides, interview the people who are operating it, distributed some questionnaires, collecting maps, brochures, and so on. So I studied this example or this of the Spanish case. I'm not going to talk about the sites. I'm going to concentrate on the organizational structure. How was it designed. I think it's one of the earliest examples of organizing a network. If somebody knows an earlier one, please let me know. I think it's one of the earliest examples. It started in 1995. I will show it later. And anyways, maybe it was in the previous slide. Why it's not colored, I don't know. My slides are with colors, and this here removes the colors. Well, I believe it's understandable this way as well. Okay, the organizational structure is simple but clever. So let's follow it. Mrs. Hosta is going to the mayor and convincing the mayor that it will be a good idea to join her organization, her NGO. So once the mayor is convinced that it will be good for his town, his city, then she prepares a plan for the Jewish heritage tourism in the city, and she insists that the council of the city make a decision about joining the Red Chuderias. Without a decision made by the council, she will not go in. Now, once the council decides, they have to pay fees to the organization. And that's the way the organization can survive and operate. So, mayors are joining, and they constitute the political assembly of mayors. Okay? So, 21 at that time, 21, I think in the highest number that she had was 25, and today Catalonia has left the organization. Anyways, it's an assembly of mayors. Now, 3 of them constitute the executive committee. One is the president, the previous president, and the next president. 3 of them constitute the executive committee. The headquarters is in Girona. General Manager Mrs. Hosta inviting mayors to join, preparing Jewish Heritage Tourism Plan, approval by the City Council, paying annual membership fees. Mayor getting president status for 6 months on a rotational basis. But then they are serving for 18 months, okay? Before they are president, they become vice president, and once they retire, they still vice president. Anyway, each mayor appoints a local technical assistant. Please pay attention to this interesting point. Each mayor has to appoint a technical assistant. Now, this technical assistant is an employee of the city. He or she are employees of the tourism office at that city. They are not employees of the Red Chuderias, but they are connected to the Red Chuderias. Again, I don't have the colors. I don't know why, but the Turkish hat shape is the mayor, and the circle is the technical assistants. So which means the mayor appoint technical assistants, but the technical assistant is working with the headquarters in Girona, which means he's becoming to be the person who develop and takes care of the Jewish heritage assets and sites and attractions. And he is reporting to the headquarters in Girona, and they are getting together several times in the year, and they are, as a matter of fact, working for the sake of developing Jewish heritage tourism in that city, appointed by the mayor, but working together with the central office in Girona. And in that way, they are doing a great job, because they are trying, now, the fact that they are, okay, this is the model which I come up with after learning the situation. It's a two-tiers central control. The central control is the headquarter general manager. Now, she is operating with the president, with the assembly of presidents on the one hand, and on the other hand, in the bottom part, the technical assembly of the people appointed by. So some of the colors are transferred here, okay? And the technical representation of local tourism departments, they are getting together, they are learning from each other, they are sharing their experience, they are sharing their knowledge, sharing their information, how to improve the situation, what to do it better, and so on and so forth. So which means that this is the way the Jewish heritage tourism in Spain operates in order to be a network and to share their knowledge. So it's not just hardware and software which is developed, but orgware and shareware which goes together. So that's the example of Spain. Now let's see another research I made more recently in 4 countries, Southern Europe. It was published this year. And Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Serbia, and southern Hungary, 3 cities on the border with Serbia and Croatia. Altogether, 15 towns and cities, again, questioning, visiting 17 synagogues, 2 places have more than one, and I came up with a relative score developed from the TripAdvisor. As you can see, a place which is, let's say, Szeged, number 15, the third from the bottom, is marked by TripAdvisor a second attraction in the city out of 25, and it has a score of 12.5, while if it's marked much down the row, then it has a much lower score. Anyways, this is one of the outcomes of that study. But another outcome, another product of that study is this modeling the formation of Jewish heritage tourism. I came up with these 2 panels. This is a conclusion from my study, which means observing all these 15 sites, interviewing people, and understanding in what stage each one of them is. I put together a model which means you have 9 steps to go before you reach the top, which is in the bottom here. So you have 5 stages in the initial formation, then 4 stages in the mature formation, and finally, at the top of the list, you have the network organization. As long as you don't have a network, you are individually, you are trying to operate to develop your assets on an individual basis. You are much weaker than with a network. Now, the question is, I asked tourism office managers and tourism office representatives in these 15 cities, do you have a network? So do you think a network of Jewish heritage tourism sites is important to you? Let's see what kind of answers I got. First of all, other countries in perspective, that's a line in my title. The bottom line is that they are far behind in terms of network development. Far behind. None of them has a real network. Now, what were the reasons? Having other priorities. Well, we are still fighting anti-Semitism and so on and so forth. What the heck? Yes, we have something about Jewish heritage tourism on our site, but when we meet together with other places, when we get together in the Council of Jewish Locations or whatever, we don't have the, we have on our agenda much much more important issues. Being in a lower level of Jewish heritage development stage, okay, they have to go further before they can try to get together. I'm not saying that the model is deterministic, which means you don't really have to go step by step. There are places which are going ahead without developing the previous step. But basically, this is the list, which I presented in previous slide. But some places which are lower in their stage of development will not go into a network. I just completed a study in Macedonia, which is going to be published. It's accepted for publication already. I'm going to finish. They are in such a low stage of developing Jewish heritage tourism that they don't think at all about creating a network. Anyway, unawareness to the advantages derived from a network, B, debated goals among several subgroups. This is very frequent in places where it's controlled by the local communities, and they are debating, and there are disagreements about some of the leaders, and lack of organizational competencies that they don't know how to do it. So there are many or several reasons. Let's look at some examples and finish by that. In Portugal, I spent a month in Portugal. I have a paper written on Portugal, but not on the network, but rather on a Serra da Estrela region. And in Portugal, they are following suit in the steps of the Spanish case. But they started in 2011, which means in a delay of 15 years. In Spain, they started in 1995, so 16 years later, the Portuguese, somebody in Portugal recognized how it's done in Spain and copied the structure to Portugal. I don't know what the situation is now, but they are trying. This is the Ashkenazi synagogue in Sarajevo, and in these countries, they said having more urgent issues to deal with than thinking about a network of Jewish heritage sites. Now, we are in a digital age, and we heard that Italy is going to be digital. There are many digital examples, new and old. I think, as far as I know, Romania was one of the earliest countries which went digital with the Jewish heritage sites, especially synagogues. But they did it with the Ministry of Education aid, and Ministry of Education hired somebody to build their network, and I think as early as, some 15 years ago, they already had this site and synagogues, list of synagogues, and they are improving all the time. Please pay attention to special interest groups. They have more special interest than Jewish heritage, which is underlined in the second line from the bottom. So Jewish heritage is one of them, and they list all the synagogues which is available in Romania. Slovakia is a Jewish organization, also have an internet site, and it's developing all the time. And of course, Jewish Heritage Europe, which is one of the sponsors of this conference. They have also a great site, but usually up to date, they were used to provide only synagogues and information about synagogues and cemeteries. I think today they are expanding the coverage of the site, and it's getting better. Finally, to sum up, I think here is again the model I developed from the Balkan states or Southern Europe. And a network is very important to promote the tourism. It's not enough to market, to have branding and so on and so forth, but a network of real people, not only a network, e-network. I think e-network is not enough. E-network is nice, is good, but in order to be really attractive and to learn from the experience of others, that's not the e-network. It's people who are doing the job, and you have to have a network of real people who are dealing with developing the place. So that's about the what I'm trying to do here is emphasize one element of promotion of tourism, which is, I think, at the top is the network issue of getting together. Thank you very much.